It's the Wayne Coito Show. And the music nicely fades out. Thank you, music. Shockingly, I don't have an engineer, so I pulled it off myself, that little fade. But here at Hawaii Sports Fans, we are about doing the work and putting in all the hard things like having to go to club seats at SoFi and enjoy, the amenities and accoutrements that one might find in what is called or being called the greatest stadium in the world. And I'm going to talk about that. Excuse me. I'm going to talk about my experience there at SoFi. As you know, Hawaii Sports Fans, we have some seats in the club right next to the visitors tunnel, which is perfect. So if your team is playing the Rams, you can come sit in our seats, get VIP entry, sit in the club. You might get some sushi like I did, which is pretty good actually. And I saw them hand rolling it, and they were speaking Japanese together, everybody back there. So if we just want to test the authenticity, and of course, we expect a certain quality, and of course this is LA too. So I'll talk about that and why that experience at SoFi Stadium, that experience which I talk about because this is what we are providing at Hawaii Sports Fans, not just that we're selling something. I really hate selling things. I'm gonna tell you that right off the bat. One thing about when you are trying to do something on your own like this is selling, and all of my tours sell themselves. All of our tours sell themselves, really. I believe so. I mean, we've gone over 20. It's our 10th year of doing them. And I don't do them that often because they're really hard to pull off, first of all. I mean, there's a lot that goes into them. There's a lot of my personal finances as well. As somebody that founded this company, everything that I put into this company is on me. And I really want the best for everyone. I want everyone to have that experience that I've had. And, if I have to do the hard job, like have that experience ahead of time, then I guess I'll do it. So SoFi, I got to sit in our seats, had a few guests as well. And I'll talk about, is it the greatest stadium in the world? Spoiler, it probably is. I've seen a lot of it. And the NFL has built a structure right next to it. And that whole complex is being set up for the future. And that's why at Hawaii Sports Fans, we're looking into the future. And we're looking at what the trends are in sports. And for sure, it's in these big, beautiful, new type of facilities. And if you're at Hawaii, even at that college level, even at the mid-major college level, even at whatever level, the high school level, you want to build a facility that's commensurate with, your fans having the best experience possible. And of course, it's tiered in a way where some people are paying more, some people are paying less. You're paying additionally for a certain experience. And I can tell you, I'll be honest, I have not yet sat in the high heavens of SoFi. I'm not sure if I'll ever make it up there. I'm sure I will make it up there eventually, but probably when I go earlier to the game, and that's a good thing. When you're in the club, you can get anywhere above you, basically anywhere. The only place that you really can't get when you're in the club is those people that are below in those cabanas, which are amazing, and I would love to do one day as well. And those people actually below can see like the teams walk through after the game and stuff. So that's really cool. But you get to see the team walk out and holler at them before they go back into the tunnel. And that's the thing that's great about where our seats are at SoFi. It keeps out, I said this before, but I don't want to offend anybody because you shouldn't be offended if you don't accept that label. But if you are riffraff, you may not have the best. You may not, okay, there was a fight. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I didn't realize that many people had seen it. I saw it because it was close to me. It was in the end zone next to where I was. I was in the club, but these people were in the general seating area where these kind of things happen more frequently, much more frequently, and that's just facts. So, because those kind of areas, there are a lot of people, first of all, that are drinking a lot more, consuming a lot more alcohol. And I'm not saying like people aren't drinking a bunch in the club. I mean, look at that fancy, if you're watching our live stream, you see that fancy champagne bar that they have at SoFi as well. And that's a part of it all. But you don't gotta be bougie, but you can still be respectful any part of the stadium that you're in. But sometimes you just find people that are just there to have more of a good time and enjoy what they have in the club, like the cushion seats that are wider than the plastic hard ones that are, in the rest of the stadium. And maybe that was what was frustrating these people. I'm not going to show you the video of the blows because I'm not that type. You can go look for it on Twitter if you want. But I do have the bloody aftermath. And I don't say bloody like how, English people say bloody. But actually, speaking of British and English, I'm going to make the connection right there and talk about Hard Knocks. Because if you're watching Hard Knocks on HBO, which is a great platform, they are featuring the Dallas Cowboys, and one of their defensive assistant coaches is from London, and it's hilarious when he talks. It's so fun to hear him. But I want to talk about that too because I think Hard Knocks is great, and it shows you, it really humanizes, the players and the game and the NFL and how it's how it's connecting with fans in a different way, and that fan experience is what's important. And thinking ahead at that fan experience of what could possibly happen when you're sitting in the wrong area. And fights happen at every stadium, not just at SoFi. It's just said that the first game they ever had fans back, and we've seen ruckus fan behavior in a lot of places with fans coming back in the NBA, particularly in NBA. And when I went to Europe, I saw it at the Euro Cup. I mean, there's a lot of hooliganism, people throwing things in the field, which I'm not cool with, which is kind of a soccer thing in Europe and other places. But I don't like that because, athletes are not like zoo animals. And zoo animals are not like zoo animals in that way. Zoo animals should be respected as well. So I'm not saying the zoo animals shouldn't be, but they're not just there to be observed and to be taunted. They're there to, to show something or to provide something to you, a service, something that, you're paying for as well. Yes, but that doesn't give you the right to start throwing blows or whatever. I don't know what started it. Ironically, in the video, those people were wearing the same jersey, like they're both sharing Rams jersey. Hi Jasmine, hi Aaron, hi Sean, hi Brad. Saying hi to everybody on Facebook. If you're listening to this on Facebook or watching on Facebook, mahalo for joining us. Join us in the comments if you have any questions. We want to talk about this upcoming football and football season. I have a big week coming up. I want to talk about that as well because we have another preseason game at SoFi. We have the Raiders are playing there this week against the Rams. If you want to be at that game, let me know. I can help you get to those seats maybe even. If you want to sit in those club seats and try it out, because this is a good time. I'm going to let you know it's a good time in the preseason to try out these seats because they're considerably less expensive. And that's, for good reason. The regular season is much different. And SoFi clearly didn't show up regular season ready. And that's something I put on the Rams too, in the organization. And there were just some things that probably, around the stadium that I saw, like that being very nitpicky, obviously, but seeing like monitors broken. Like it's the first game. Like nothing should be broken. Everything should be working at high capacity. And this is obviously it's not the first event. They had concerts. They had all kinds of stuff. Some of you have probably even been to SoFi already to an actual event. But I think those things will get better. And there are a lot of complaints from fans. And the Rams deserve that. You got to have a good product. But some people, when there's hooliganism around them or fans beating the crap out of each other, they take advantage of all the eyes on them. And such did this guy who had a sign that said, "Bring back Goff," which was hilarious. I don't know. Do you think he's serious? I mean, pretty sure he's not. Not that Matthew Stafford got a chance to go on the field, and like I said, I've said this before, I do really like Goff. And it's funny because obviously I'm wearing the Rams. I'm going to support as Hawaii sports fans, and we have these Rams tickets. I'm support the Rams when they're not playing the Chiefs, obviously the Chiefs. But I'm very invested in the Rams in terms of all the games I've gone to since they've come to LA. And this is a team that I followed when, the NFL came here. And I just love the NFL, obviously. I love going to Super Bowls no matter who's in it. Paid big money to see teams that I have no, desire to be a fan of. But I'll cheer for one of them. Like, when I wore that Seahawks jersey at 49, I can't live that one down. But I just didn't want the Patriots to win. And I thought that was going to be my only Super Bowl ever. So that's why I wore the Seahawks. And I even said "See." And then people said Hawks. So, yeah, that was semi-hooliganism for Seattle Seahawk fans, I guess. But nonetheless, being a fan at SoFi will be fun, whether you're on the opposing team or the home team. And Hawaii our football team might be playing there as well, because there's going to be a Los Angeles Bowl featuring the Mountain West champion, I believe, against the Pac West 4th or 5th place team. So, it'll be cool to see UH in that stadium, and I'll have access to those tickets as well. I'll be one of the first to access those, here at Hawaii Sports Fans. So hopefully we'll stay tuned for that. But speaking of Hawaii Sports Fans and our tours, we do have a few spots left. The tour is just about closed, but I am last minute. I am on Hawaiian time a lot, except when I need to be somewhere for a business or a game. I try not to miss those things. So that's basically everything. All right, so I'm on time most of the time. But I am on Hawaiian time sometimes when it comes to, just putting off that project or putting off something that you is hanging over your head. So a lot of us have that feeling. And some of you may be, when it comes to, man, I really want to go to this UCLA game or this trip, and you've been thinking about it. I'm holding out for those people. See, I am one of the friends of those people because I understand, okay? Last minute, it runs in our blood. And, it's a part of, it's normal to be last minute. So I'm not going to let anybody out. I'm actually love when people call and say, can I get on the tour or have time or can I get into this? I'm always willing to try and work with somebody because I'm excited to speak with people and interface with potential clients, potential people that can see what I see. And I'm really excited about this Dodgers game that we have coming up, and that's next week Friday on the tour. But I got a big week, like I said. We got the Raiders game versus the Rams on Saturday. You could join me for that in our Hawaii Sports Fans Club seats. Tuesday, we got the MLS All-Star Skills Challenge. I'm excited. That's going to be the first time I'll ever go to that. I'll be able to sit in the supporter section, which is where my LAFC support section is. And then on Wednesday is the MLS All-Star Game. So my first All-Star Game at the MLS. I've already been to Major League Baseball All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, and then never to NBA All-Star Game. Maybe we'll have to do that. Those are really expensive. I've obviously been to the Pro Bowl a lot. We need it back in Hawaii. The Pro Bowl is what weaned us, and a lot of us ran up for autographs. Me and Brad and Sean. We all know hanging out at Aloha Stadium, and that's what set the fire for me, and that's why I love doing NFL type things anywhere in the world, whether it's my team or not. So that's why Hawaii Sports Fans is Hawaii Sports Fans. We're just fans of sports. We're fans of seeing other people even happy and other people having a good time. So that's really fun. So even if you're not a Dodgers fan, you're going to have an amazing time at this Dodgers game. You'll see the defending world champs. Max Scherzer has been playing really good, and you'll be able to hopefully see him in pitching. But if not, the Dodgers are so loaded. They literally have 4 Cy Youngs and 4 MVPs on their team. It's a ridiculous roster. But the Dodgers can put on a show and definitely hit a bunch of home runs. And that's the fun part because we're sitting in the home run seats in box D in left center. Can squeeze you in if you still want to get there. I've made some offers to some people I know that are listening. So come sit with us. We'll have food. We'll have drinks. We'll have that's non-alcoholic kind for that one. But that's a part of that stadium experience. And someone who I just got a text before the show from Warren, who's coming on our tour. Warren's been on 5 tours or 6 with 5, I believe with us already. And he was texting about going to Citi Field and what seats he was into, and or what seats would be good for the price range he was looking at. And that's a good thing about the good and bad thing about variable costs of stadiums, right? Just like going on an airplane. Everybody understands price discrimination is what we would call it in the economics world, right? Where somebody pays more than somebody else. But if you can match that experience, if you can, regardless of where you're sitting, regardless of how much you pay, you get, it's a good deal if you understand what makes you happy at a game. Some people just really like to go for the beer. This isn't, I know, hold on to your chairs. This is going to shock you, but some people just want to go for the alcohol, which is, fine. If people just want to go, because being at a baseball game in particular is so fun for conversationalists and people who just enjoy the ambiance and they don't have to be super locked into the game. Like at football, it's hard kind of get people annoyed when people talk to me don't you know there's a football game going on? Every play matters. Not that every pitch doesn't matter in baseball. I mean, if you're in Japan or in Korea, they're cheering every pitch, so they're into it every single time, and I love that that baseball experience as well. So, back to that experience, I'm hoping that we can get some people. I know that this pandemic has really caused issues. It caused issues for me. I want to be honest. I mean, it's hard to keep Hawaii sports fans going. It's really hard. And this is our 10th year of doing this, and I'm proud of the progress that we've made. But it's difficult. It's not easy. It's fun though. Obviously, this is why I did it. It's really fun. That's why I chose to do it. But just like anything else, it's affected by things like a pandemic or whatever. People are struggling. So Sean says the struggle is real. He typed that, so I can't sense the sarcasm. But even where I am sitting, I can probably feel a little bit of it, because yes, it is fun and it is great. But I really want people to come and do this. Like really, it's hard to do these things by yourself. This is why I'm doing it. It's hard to me to do, because I'm a solo traveler myself, right? Like when I went to Europe this last trip, I went by myself. I don't go with people. I like to go to things by myself. I like to go to games by myself. So I know when people tell me, oh, like I can do that by myself, like I go for it. Like that's cool. Like that's what I do myself. I go by myself. But these kind things, like group kind things, are only possible with groups unless you're super rich and can afford like an entire box. Like we're getting a box of 2 games, 2 boxes. And I'm not rich, but I'm the one that's gonna and Hawaii Sport Fans the one's gonna bankroll it for you, so you're guaranteed that experience, and we're guaranteed that experience too. But at what cost? And that's the difference. And I want to be that's me just being straight up and honest with you guys. It's these are hard things to come by. Yes, I've been into boxes for free when I've been invited with companies or whatever. So that's not something that I'm saying you're never going to experience. But when we do it as a group and we do it together, we do it, we make it special. And I'm loving this Dodger game because also the LAFC night, and I got the LAFC promo item, which I had to get extra and special and tack on. But I think it's going to add so much to that experience, is having this LAFC night, my team, I'm blocking it right here, my flag behind me. But that's what is on the table if you want it, or if you're in the LA area. And then we are going to see Angels in the suite as well. We're going to see a major league or a minor league game. HISportsfans.com. Go check it out. Like I said, it's all about the fan experience, and I want to deliver that for you. So if you have a chance to be in LA, So that's it. The first game at
How about
SoFi
this
with
place right
fans
here?
in the books. The Chargers winning 13-6. Very low scoring game, not very many yards, but a nice opening for SoFi Stadium. Pretty cool. Exciting to see what a regular season game will be like. All right, so I hope you guys can hear me now. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened with the audio, but it should be back on now. And that video was actually after the game, and that was me talking about kind of the difference in atmosphere. It was really cool in SoFi for the first game, but the regular season is really going to be a really cool difference, I think, in how the game goes. But thanks for those that let me know about the sound going off. I have no idea what happened, so it's back now. But that game, Hawaii game, is going to be against UCLA next week. Is also something that is going to probably a lot of local LA Hawaii fans, and that we'll see a bunch of you there. So let me know if you're going to be there in the comments. I know some of you have already planned on being there. I know Ricardo in the comments. Ricardo texted me. I'm sorry about the audio, so thanks, Ricardo. But Ricardo will be there at the Dodger game, LAFC night, so it's good. He says it sucks I can't go to the UCLA versus Hawaii game. Yeah, I wish you could go. It's going to be a fun game, and with Hawaii not being able to play UCLA last year, I think it's going to be. It might be a good thing for UH, because I think having that extra year to be much more competitive, because UCLA is obviously they're loaded with talent. So I think Hawaii can beat them, and I think I don't know what the line is for the game now, but I think Hawaii, I mean, being on the road obviously too is going to be rough, but I think under Coach Graham and where the team was trending, especially having Calvin come back, I definitely see that as a game that's very winnable for Coach Graham to beat a Pac-12 team on the road, and to do it against UCLA and the Rose Bowl would be really cool to see Hawaii do that. So I know if you're a UCLA fan, you're like, boo, shut up, but that'd be really cool. And for teams that like us, who all of our big wins kind of stand alone in history because they don't happen that often, right? It's like for UH football, when we go back and think about some of the bigger wins. I mean, we still go back to wins in like the 70s and like 50s against Nebraska. It's like when you are a smaller program, those bigger wins kind of stand out more. And this would be a big win, just because Hawaii and UCLA don't play that often, and it would be huge to do it at the Rose Bowl. So hopefully we see a bunch of you there. I know that California just instituted again the masks, so you can see me wearing a mask in the Rams mask over there, and my Rams before we walked into SoFi. So they weren't very vigilant of the the masks over there, so I thought that was because during like the Super Bowl or other games that I went to where you had to wear a mask, like Angels games or whenever in the early, when the pandemic was still, okay, the pandemic is raging still. What am I saying? Okay, so earlier when they were letting people in, slowly trickling people in, they were a lot more aggressive with telling people to wear masks. And by they, I mean like ushers, and that's just my general observation from stadiums. So I think that they might start getting more strict maybe with the ushers on people, but I know that that's one thing in California. As for people asking about whether California is going to shut down, because in Hawaii, I know we're always talking about a shutdown, or we're talking about how the governor or whatever, we don't know what he could do or possible. I think I'm a little bit more confident that in California, at least, there won't be any major changes other than the mask mandate. But so for those that were on the fence, there's still time to come, and you can always make that choice, because there's all these planes now carrying all these tourists to our island. So might as well jump on one of those planes back to the mainland and claim some space back on the mainland by attending games and sitting in private boxes with Hawaii sports fans. But that's next week. So I'm super excited about it. And, even with the pandemic, I think the sports experience is still high, and it's still something that is worth, going to and making the most of. And last year, especially having people sit at home all year, it's a good time to be able to get back to the stadium. So hopefully we can do that in LA, and LA be a base for Hawaii for a long time, not just with the Rose Bowl playing UCLA, but playing in the Los Angeles Bowl every December against a Pac-12 team. Maybe UCLA, maybe USC. Who knows? That would be crazy. Hawaii versus USC in the LA Bowl. That's another thing too, because I think it doesn't matter. Whoever's in that bowl game, which, if it's like a UCLA or USC, if they finish in like the 4th or 5th area, or even like Berkeley or like Stanford or something, those would all be major draws, I think, to that stadium. So that would be cool for UH to play one of those teams at the LA Bowl. That would be really cool. I think that would be a decent draw. Just because, the Las Vegas Bowl obviously was always a good draw. I never got to go to it at Sam Boyd, but obviously it's a much smaller stadium. But that's going to be that same vibe, Pac-12 versus Mountain West champ, and it could be UH. Hopefully. I think this squad will be a good team, and I think that Coach Graham is confident, and I believe in his confidence. The way he doesn't say it, he says it. Coaches you have to be confident anyway. So it's not like he's shockingly confident, but it also seems justifiable in what he talks about in terms of the upgrades on certain units and being high on like the linebacker unit and talking about them. And you hear a lot of the same themes when he talks. And he's pretty open, so that's one good thing. And if you want to hear more about UH, or you can also listen to our new podcast called The Rainbow Wrap-Up. We've already done for 2 weeks, and by we, I mean me and Sean Iman. I brought our guest Sean Iman on, our super fan, UH super fan. So we're gonna have someone else tomorrow. I think our own Lau Head will be joining us tomorrow. So we're gonna record. We always record on Thursdays. It's not live because it's a podcast. So it's just full podcast, no live stream, just so you guys can listen to us maybe on your morning commute to work on Fridays. But that's something to find at the Hawaii Sports Fans channel on Spotify, Apple, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts. I don't want to be that person like podcasts, but this is really fun to have a podcast too, or have turned this into a podcast, because I think it's a lot different to connect with people via podcasts, and it's a lot softer. And by softer, I mean like it can be intense, like having this visual and then like seeing me like be visual, because like I can get intense. So I think like when it's just my voice and maybe some music and some sound clips, it's just like easier to have on in the background. So, but you can watch as well. You can just watch the YouTube and play that. So that's that. But having the podcast makes it easier if you have an app that you use all the time. Just look for the Hawaii Sports Fans channel. We already have this show, and then now we said the Rainbow Wrap-Up. I want to bring back the Real Ones podcast, where we tackle one issue. We talked about the UCF thing with Mackenzie Milton, and how UCF, having, now that I've visited UCF myself, went there when I was there at the Pro Bowl, went to Orlando and visited the campus in Central Florida. I got to see for myself, why this program is so attractive, UCF, to a lot of people, because they really get it in a lot of ways at UCF, and it's Florida in the South, so like obviously football it's gonna be hard to get people to want to be to invest in football, but they have the Hula Bowl now, so like they're like basically trying to be Hawaii, and they put Hawaii in their Twitter handle, their Twitter bio even, and I don't love that that's what they're doing, but I think it's bold of them as like a marketing decision ploy to go after Hawaii and Hawaiian kind things. And now they're building a lazy river for their club people. See that's the next step club. I was like, okay, this is the best part right here, this lazy river. They're in the middle of Orlando. Orlando's like not even like, Orlando's in the middle of like Florida. It's obviously Central Florida, but it's not like far from the coast, but it's not like that close. So it really, that beachy vibe, they create that on their campus in the middle of Orlando. So it's deliberate. It's how you market yourself. It's how you tell people, I want you to be a fan of our team, and I want you to come to the games, and I'm going to give you an experience that you're going to remember and tell your friends about. And that's the last part is more important, because you can always control the wins and losses. But if you are the home team, you can at least control how your fans interact with the stadium crew, with you as the players, and make that experience, something that's even more special. Or you can just build a giant stadium and have people sitting in high heaven, which is fine as well. I as I was sitting in SoFi, I was like looking at the top. So let's do the good. Okay, I talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the wow. So the good is everything seemed to go smoothly, at least with digitals, because that was something like how intense they're putting up stats, and they're putting up all these different montages. So that's engaging, right? That's a part of that experience, right? Looking up at that screen. Plus, it's like it's shaped very interestingly. So I'm looking at the inside ring as well, because I was in the club down. So when I look up, I'm looking at the inside ring. So other people are looking at the outside ring. So it's the inside and outside, and just all the space that they have on there. They can provide so much more in-game info and have so much more. Like they had a pre-game before the game that had like pre-packaged things. And yes, I get on Aloha Stadium because it's ridiculous to play pre-packaged commercials, but you can play pre-packaged content that everybody can watch together that sounds good, first of all, and that's important. That's another big issue with Aloha Stadium that we had was like the sound was always like over modulated or something. It was like way too like scratchy or something. So obviously SoFi, great audio, better. It's a several $billion stadium. So that's a part of the good for sure. That whole looking up there, that is a wow thing to me. Looking at that screen, looking at the roof above it. And speaking of the roof, so first of all, I think a roof is important for every stadium. I have been to my fair share of games below freezing, and for being a Hawaiian and Islander and sticking it out. And I am totally for roofs, at least having a roof, if not fully enclosed. So SoFi is not fully enclosed. There's a roof. So there's a roof, and then like around the building, there's all these like, architectural side things that, are going to be, places that people can hang out at. Sorry, I got a text. I'm wondering where my audio is, if it's okay, but everybody says it's good now. No, but it allows for some breeze, which was interesting. So like later in the game, there was like some heavy breeze that came in. So it comes in through like the side and everything, and you can feel it. And like a lot of people are like, where did that come from? Because it feels like, the way that it peers, it just kind of like snakes through all the like open areas in the outside part of the stadium, because the stadium basically, or at the very top, behind where those bleachers are up there, there's probably a more open air area, so it might be a little bit colder over there. I don't know, but it felt climate controlled to me. I wore shorts. Some of you know that even though I went to college in like New York, and I spent time, like I said, at a lot of stadiums that are really cold and games that are really cold. I'm still island boy, and I always get cold, and I actually wasn't cold, so it was like a good temperature, probably like high 60s or something, low 70s. Like it was a solid, and it's not always going to be that way. It clearly, the outside has an effect on the inside temperature, and they have ways to modulate it, the temperature inside, and to keep climate control. But it'll be interesting if the sun is ever shining really direct, because at 1:00 in the afternoon, it's gonna be different from a 7:00 at Saturday night. And this upcoming preseason game on Saturday is also at 7:00. So you really don't get a feel for what the regular season game in terms temperature-wise will be like. So that's what that was the good and the wow. A part of the bad, I mean, to be quite honest, I saw some, and it should be fixed by next game, but I saw like escalators that were down, and just general things that yes will happen when you have way more people coming into the turnstiles. But SoFi they did have a lot of staff. They had tons of people around, and a lot of people that were helpful, and it seemed like they hired a lot of people, a lot of locals, like and that's the commitment that a lot of these projects make, right? Is to staff with people that live in the area, which is really important because this gargantuan thing is in their backyard. So a lot of residents or a lot of people were standing around that you could ask questions to. But still, I think that the team underrated a preseason game, which a lot of NFL teams do. They're just like, whatever, it's preseason. But I think for the first game, I expected there to be more fanfare. And I know that the Rams want to really make that first regular season game against the Bears. If you want to go that game, let me know. September 12th. They want to make that the special one. And, of course, that's going to be the major special one. That's the first regular season game with fans. But this was the first game, period, with fans for NFL and for the Rams, the host, the team that owns the whole stadium. So I definitely anticipated there being a little bit more fanfare, and it was cool. I mean, they had most of the things working, but there wasn't any like celebrations in the way like when the Rams had their first game. And that's what was cool. When the Rams had their first game in LA, and that was 5 years ago, and they played the Cowboys in the Coliseum, and there were like 91,000 people. I mean, that was crazy, and it was so hot. Oh my gosh, I remember that day. But that was cool, and there was a lot of fanfare, and that was because obviously the NFL coming back to LA was a big deal. And that was cool, and that's why I was like, I'd love to support the Rams as another team, especially because I'm in LA, and I want to watch football. Can't do the Chargers because they're in the same division as the Chiefs. It's a little too close for comfort, but having another team, having a team to support was cool, especially like growing up in a place like Hawaii where we couldn't go to a pro game, we couldn't just get in a car and drive to a pro stadium. So I always am thankful for that, being from Hawaii. Every time I get in a car to drive to LAFC game, to the Bank of California Stadium, or Staples Center, to Angel Stadium, to Dodger Stadium, I was like, wow, I get to just jump in my car and do this. And now going to SoFi, it's like even closer for me. I'm like, wow, I'm going to NFL's like the best NFL stadium, and it's really close. So I think that's a really cool thing about bringing back football to LA. Obviously, having two teams now, it's crazy. And then you basically have three teams in LA because the Raiders have basically the most fans in Los Angeles. So it is a heavy market already. It's crowded, but I think that the Chargers are a good team, and I think the Chargers are trending upwards. So I wouldn't be shocked if they end up being really successful. But building their fan base is tricky because the Rams are having trouble building their fan base. I mean, they're lucky that they have a lot of the fans, first of all, from who do remember them. Like they grew up with the Rams back in the day, and they're like true LA stock. So they got it. They've always been into the Rams, But you have a lot of people like me, like second team fans, where like we have another team, but I'm a fan of the Rams. I go to the games. I cheer for them because it's fun to go to games and cheer for a team. But I want to for them to grow the Rams, they have to be creative like that. They can't just rely on the older fans or second team or newer fans. They have to get teams, maybe fans that like other teams too or something. And come in. I know, like even for the Chargers, like I say, like I think the Chargers are a great second team for people that, especially that's the weird thing, having Chargers and Raiders. So many Raiders fans here is just like being in the AFC West together. That's the hard part because like you could be a Raider. I know the Raiders fans are gonna get mad, but you can be a Raiders and Rams fan. Like that's not a big deal. To me, first of all, I'm a fan of football. I'm a fan of sports, so I always go back to the top. Having a personal connection to a team is different. And when I say it's personal connection, I mean like you're going to cry when they win or lose. Maybe not cry. Okay, that could just be me and some other people. I've seen other people do it. But, I mean, you can't... Picking a team, like, I probably like the Rams, I was there when they lost Super Bowl 53, and I was like, oh, God, that was terrible. I wasn't going to cry. I was just like, oh, well, whatever. And I was like, 10-3. They couldn't even score touchdowns. And I was like, what the heck? I couldn't even score a touchdown. Come on, Rams. fast forward to, seeing the Chiefs win, and I was like, this is what I was waiting for, and I love it so much, and I was crying. Obviously, that is my team. And then seeing the Chiefs lose the next year, crying again because I was sad that the Chiefs lost and they're my team. But also understanding that, that's why it's my team. That's the difference. And I'm like, some people can just jump on a bandwagon. Sure. But if they're not personally affected, you're not really a fan. It's like, so that's why when I talk about teams that personally affect me, teams that could make me angry or something, there's not too many teams like that. But, and I don't want to be negative around my team too. I want to be positive around my team all the time. And we're starting to see negativity around like LAFC because LAFC has been losing. We've been losing some games that should have been winnable, and losing, and especially in soccer when you can tie and you can get at least 1 point, but to lose, it sets you back. So how fans react. Also, you have some uncouth fans. So I'll show you the video. Oh, here's a picture of the guy that says bring back Goff. And people are talking about him outside too. They're like, did you see that picture of the guy that had the bring back Goff sign? I like Goff, but I wouldn't bring him back if I were the Rams. And nobody would, let's be honest. But so in the end zone next to me were these people over here, and it is what it is. It just is what it is. I'm not going to glorify it, but here is some of. You can hear the fans. You can see the guy. There's kind of like blood on his face. I don't want to be all faces of death over here, but that's the guy that was in the middle of it. And actually, I saw another angle where that guy, kind of in the beginning, it was a lady that was behind those people. So that guy like basically was taunting one guy and then got jumped by that guy and his friends. But it was after a woman that was behind that group threw like a soda at him, and then he got crazy. I don't like fighting. I am a peaceful lover. So I think that we shouldn't have fighting. We should just be, but if that's not the thing that caused most people's attention at the preseason game, I'd be lying, because that literally got everybody on their feet. And that shouldn't be something at a game that should be around anybody, because first of all, it's scary and it's unsafe. You never know what's going to happen. There's kids around there. And that's a good thing about sitting in like a place like the club. And I'm going to say this again. I mean, that's another part of the investment. Sitting in a place that is not going to be, it's not going to have too many crazy people that want to fight. And it's just what happens in cheaper seats. That's just period. And this is coming from somebody that's sat in his fair share of cheap seats for a long time and still do a lot, all the time. The hooligans are in those kind of areas. So if you want to avoid that, that's why it's a good idea to sit in places that are, people are a little bit more couth usually. So I don't know what happened to my champagne video. Where did my champagne video? I was going to show you the champagne room, but anyway, so what's crazy about that fight as well is like, it was like two, I'm assuming Rams fans, because all of those people were wearing Rams gear, which is another thing. It's like, you're fighting with your own team. That's even worse than fighting with the opposing team during a preseason game. Well, fighting period is not great. But at a preseason game, it's kind of funny how people are like taking it super serious. Like, it's like, I'm not even paying attention. Like the final score was 13-6. Like the quarterback threw like 2 interceptions in the goal line. Like this is like glorified Division, and not even the best Division One. It's I don't even call it the best. It's like, because the players are still like learning how to play with each other as well. So, you're just seeing a lot of sloppiness, but it was still really exciting, and you could see a lot of players. I saw them come out of the tunnel, and after the game, you can where I was, and you can see the players. You can walk down to the front row and call them, and I saw some players throwing things up. So that's a lot of cool part of the experience as well that you wouldn't get. In some stadiums, you can sneak around. If you go to Dodger Stadium a lot, that Dodgers is a very restrictive stadium. It's like whatever section you go into, you basically are restricted to that section, which is fine because that's what you paid for. That's the ticket you paid for. But, some stadiums, they're a lot more lax and you can walk around. But SoFi is going to be a little bit harder. I know there are some people saying they snuck down to the club for this game, but Probably later in the game you could have. I mean, it was a preseason. They were a little bit more lax, but there's a lot of more bells and whistles and checkpoints to get by to get down to like that club level. So it's all a part of that SoFi experience that if you want to have when you come to LA, you choose just like you go to any stadium. The seat itself is not the experience. It's everything else around it, like going into the VIP entry, parking in the green lot, which I have a pass for that you'll get when you do the Hawaii Sports Fan seats. It's convenient. It's just right there, and you just drive in and drive off. I mean, Inglewood, you're not going to really find. You can find street parking in Inglewood. Like, there was a lot in the neighborhood that I passed by. I don't know if I'd want to leave my car, not just because like there were signs everywhere that said "Do not park your car here." So that's another reason that I wouldn't want to park my car, especially if they're kind of people know that you're going to the game. Like around the Coliseum, you don't see those signs, but yeah, my catalytic converter may or may not have been almost stolen. So sometimes you gotta watch where you park, and that's why it's good to park right there at the stadium, and that's what you're gonna get if you come with Hawaii Sports Fans and sit in our SoFi Stadium seats. Aaron says, my friends have season tickets for Chargers at SoFi, and their seats were covered in cobwebs for the first preseason game. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because my seat was a little dusty. You can tell it's like if nobody was sitting there yet. Like those seats have been installed those seats have been installed over a year ago, because the stadium was already done, POW. I was going to say the stadium was POW already. The stadium was done over a year ago already. It's been done. So like all of the seats were screwed in. Everything like basically just went dark because there were no fans and there were no, they didn't have to really use any of those seats. So I can see that. But yeah, it was disappointing that I was like, wipe the seats down. Like how easy would it not have been? And a lot of it I'm hearing is like, oh, it's preseason. So that's, you gotta still show up SoFi and do the seats, get the cobwebs off. Brad says, I'm always there virtually. Yes, you can always join us online. We want to do a special thing with our tour soon, so maybe in the near future I want to organize a lot of people, a club, and Brad's doing some of that, and that's why he is a sponsor. He's a part sponsor of today's show and tomorrow's, we're going to say, the Rainbow, because Brad at Oahu Sports Fans, go and check him out, because he's always looking for a game to go to on Oahu, and tried to get into a women's soccer game at UH Manoa, was turned away. But Brad, that's how hardcore he is. He's already out there trying to get to a game. And I know a lot of you are jonesing out there for some UH sports. So just be careful, and, know that a lot of these people who tell you to go away probably will remember you, because they're not a lot of UH fans. So if you think they're going to forget you, they'll remember you. And Brad also says, go Chargers. I will go to that Super Bowl with you. I've been waiting since 94 for the return. That's right. So Brad's a huge Chargers fan of Junior Seau. The late Junior Seau, one of the greats who ever played the game. Definitely one of the greatest linebackers. And that tradition, that San Diego tradition, I talked to some Chargers fans from San Diego. They're like, no, we're not fans anymore. A lot of Chargers people are not. So it's good. Brad's sticking with the Chargers despite the move from, San Diego to LA. And I think, first of all, I love the Chargers uniforms. Like if you're into picking a team by what their colors are, their uniforms, like that powder blue is really cool. But I think in LA they're still carving out a fan base, and they're gonna have to. And they're fighting the Rams and the Raiders, like I said, which makes it a little bit more tough. But we'll see. SoFi Stadium on a Sunday when the Chargers are in town. What's it gonna be like? A SoFi Stadium, or the stadium in Carson where they were playing at, Dignity Health, which was StubHub. You couldn't tell sometimes that there was an NFL game in town, which was crazy. But the NFL is such a big show, and it's been away from LA for so long that I think a lot of people here, especially in LA, they just kind of over it. It's like, whatever, football's not here. I mean, to me, it's like as soon as the Rams announced they were coming to LA, and me being an actor in Los Angeles, where I'm based as an actor, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to freaking NFL season tickets, gee. And then I saw the potential for Hawaii Sports Fans with SoFi. And that's why it is at least the tickets of Hawaii Sports Fans. I'm not a season ticket holder anymore per se, but Hawaii Sports Fans is. And I want to make that distinction because these are the seats. I want people that are close to our group, are close to our company to be able to take advantage of these and to get a good price for them, not have to worry about going to Ticketmaster and paying like 25% extra fees or something. So that's another thing that this is not about ticket. I'm not about tickets. I'm about the experience, but I'm helping with the tickets. I'm helping with the parking and everything else on the side as well. So check it out, hisportsfans.com. And like I said, we have a lot of stuff coming up with Hawaii Sports Fans events. I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to get more people. If you want to come along with us, LA Dodgers game, the LA Angels of Anaheim game suite. We have tickets still for that as well. If you want to do the whole tour, the VIP tour, your last minute kind, Hawaiian timer, let me know as well. Hopefully we have you at SoFi Stadium. The good, the bad, the ugly, the wow. I think you guys know what the ugly was definitely the fight. We'll be honest. That's an easy one. The bad was probably the field play. Like the first preseason game can be bad sometimes, and it was wow. Like it was there were some good plays. There were some definitely great athletes in the field, but it's hard. And I'm not saying like a lot of these kids, quarterbacks especially, third, fourth, fifth string quarterbacks, they don't know the playbook that well. So there's a lot of miscommunication and stuff. But that's a preseason game, and even as a football fan, even as a hardcore football fan like I am, I don't always get super excited about the preseason. Actually, never. Well, when the Rams played at Aloha Stadium, I got excited because that was so cool to sit in my, UH season tickets and watch watch the Rams play the Cowboys at Aloha Stadium. Plus, it was the Cowboys too. I think if the Cowboys had played this game at SoFi, it would be different because of the Cowboys fans here, having the Cowboys had training camp not too far from here. I missed that again in Oxnard. Dang it. But that ended so fast. But having the Raiders in town, that's LA's other home team, basically. There will be interesting to see what the SoFi Stadium experience will be like. But mahalo for joining me on another night of epic sports and travel talk. I've been, this pandemic has really opened my eyes to a lot of potential, but also just the difficulty of pulling a lot of this off. So I'm really hopeful people can take advantage of all the good stuff that Hawaii Sports Fans has to offer, especially when it comes to the game experience that we do like no other. And mahalo for joining us. Check us out, our podcast. We're going to have a new one. We're going to have this on the podcast tonight. And we're going to have that podcast ready for your Friday commute by Friday morning. We're going to talk about every game on UH's schedule and even make some predictions. So check that out. Talk to you guys later. Aloha.